Now, I felt like I was kind of accused of being an Ellen Jamesian this week, so I want to show you this picture that I made that I felt like was the occasion for this accusation. So I made this graphic because the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network is sponsoring a series of vigils to remember autistic and other disabled people who were murdered by their families and caregivers. And I did it after attending a vigil for George Hodgins. And one of my friends on Facebook shared this image, and somebody else just expressed a tremendous amount of skepticism about the motives of the people who were doing these vigils, and then when I tried to defend myself, she told me that it wasn't about me. And I know what she meant. I mean, I knew that she was not referring, she had nothing personally against me, that when she wasn't thinking about me when she wrote these things. But on the other hand, she was expressing really, the suggestion that I had very bad motives for creating this picture that I created in order to support these events that I think are a good idea. And I felt like I was being accused of being... because I was supporting these vigils for George Hodgins and for other people who were killed by their parents and other caregivers, that somehow I was anti the parents and anti the caregivers, and also I felt like we were being accused of sort of trying to hijack George's death for our own causes, and that's just it was hurtful because. Yeah, I made a conscious decision that I didn't want to speak very much because I wanted other people. I wanted the focus to be on other people at this event. But what I did talk about was just how that I felt like George should be alive. That we had to think about, the fact that it was not okay that he was dead. It wasn't the end of it wasn't the end of a tragic story. It was the tragic end of a life. But one of the things I felt really strongly about saying was that I was also sad that Elizabeth wasn't there, and it certainly is my feeling. It's my strong feeling that saying that we have to mourn George first doesn't mean that we have to hate Elizabeth, even feeling like, if she was here, she'd have to go to jail, or if... I feel like a lot of times I get accused of having an extremity of attitude that I don't feel. And I think this comes from the fact that it's so unusual to hear an autistic person talking about himself as though he expects to be accepted as autistic and professional and equal all at once. And that's just not comfortable for people. I mean, and there's certainly other things. I'm also kind of obnoxious. It's not... I don't just have problems because of other people. I have problems because of my own behavior. I'm very much aware of that. Please don't think I'm not. But I feel like, there's a tendency to want people who are disabled to be identifiable as disabled, and also to stay in our places, to act humble, and to be, we're supposed to be A, humble and not want attention, and B, plucky and want to do everything for ourselves and not want any help. And those are kind of that's the way you're supposed to be if you have a disability. You're not supposed to say, you know what, I really would like to be able to do that, but I can't because it hurts too much. Or even just, you know what, I could do that, but frankly, it's just not worth it. And if you are going to have a life that I think as an autistic person is worth living, those are attitudes that at some points, not often, you need to embrace. Okay. One one of the conflicts that I frequently have with my domestic partner Max over material on my site is that he thinks I'm being too extreme in terms of one point of view. And I think, it's hard for him to recognize how little the point of view that I'm represented is heard. There's just not a lot of us out there saying autistic people should be treated as equals, that parents should be involved in this discussion, that everybody who has something worthwhile to contribute should be respected. And sometimes I do kind of come across like Ms. Magazine in 1975, and that is off-putting to people. I can think of one person himself in particular who I'm sure feels almost exactly like Garp in the novel in terms of what all he's wanted to do is to be an ally, and it seems like all people want to do is act in self-defeating and angry ways and blame him for things that have nothing to do with him. And as I say, one of the things that really makes Garp a fascinating and a wonderful read today is that, Irving himself is really embodying some very sexist attitudes. And they're completely invisible to him in some way. You feel like he's kind of bending over backwards. And I think, if you have a hard time understanding some of the biased attitudes that show up in some parent writing and parent attitudes, you might think of the way that women are depicted in that novel as being similar to that. You might think of, I really feel like some of the caricatures of autistic self-advocates, and much less myself, I'm loud and I can speak up for myself, and I'm self-identified, but I think some of the younger people, are really caricatured in very cruel and inaccurate ways. And so I encourage you not to assume that people are Ellen Jamesians because they say something that's different than what you expect. And I encourage myself. I'm not even going to bother to encourage you because that's not my place. But I'm going to encourage myself to try to act in ways that are less Ellen Jamesian-y, to really try to indulge anger less, to really try to be, to look at somebody who might want to be my friend and help me out, and rather than being angry about the things that they do that I think are disrespectful, to look at their intentions more, to really try to find the parts of people that want to help. And again, I can't say whether you need to do that or not, but I can thank you for watching. Bye-bye.